Hello and welcome back to my channel where I'm sharing hints, tips and tricks on how to make home recording easy. In this video I'm going to answer a question asked by one of my subscribers, and that is, how do you record audio and MIDI at the same time? Can it be done? The answer is yes, so let's go and have a look at how you do it. If at this point you're still a bit confused about the difference between MIDI and audio recording, then you might want to refer back to my earlier video, and I'm just putting a card to it right now so that you can go straight there if you want to do that. Otherwise, we're going to dive into the detail. Let me start with a very simple look at my audio setup. I've basically got a Roland Go Piano, which is a very simple keyboard. It makes a sound and it also has a MIDI output. So let's have a look at the back of that. The sound either comes out of the speakers or out of headphones, and what I'm doing is I am taking the sound from the headphone socket and I am connecting it to the left and right input of my audio interface. So that is the way that I'm going to record the sound of this keyboard. This keyboard is actually a Bluetooth MIDI keyboard, but I'm not going to use the Bluetooth MIDI because I find that you tend to get a bit of latency, there's a bit of delay. So I am taking the USB output from the keyboard into a USB input on my computer and using the MIDI output from the keyboard that way. So pretty straightforward, two lots of connections, the audio connection through the headphone out and the MIDI connection through the USB out. Now let's have a look at the software to see how it all fits together there. Now that we've got all the hardware set up, let's open up our DAW and get the software set up so that we can record MIDI and audio at the same time. So the DAW I'm going to use is Repo, but you could use any MIDI and audio recording software that allowed you to record multi-tracks at the same time. Now let's, before we start, look at the preferences and make sure that we've got everything set up how we want. So for my audio device, I'm going to be recording through my audio interface, which is the Scarlett 2i4 USB. So that's already set up. And then in the MIDI section, you'll see that I've got a range of MIDI devices available. The one I'm going to use for this is the Roland Digital Piano, and that is enabled there. So everything's already set up. Now I'm going to set the project up so that I'm going to be ready to record the two tracks. I'm going to change the tempo of the whole project to 100 BPM. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my two tracks. Now if I right click in this area here, I can insert a new track from template. This is just something I've set up earlier to make it quicker to demo what I'm doing. So this track is going to record a MIDI signal from my Roland keyboard, so that's already set up. I've already got it set up with a piano instrument so that when I make the MIDI recording it'll sound like a piano. I've got it on for recording and I've got the recording monitor on. So let's just check the instrument's working. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's all set up, making a sound. You can see the feedback coming here. Now I'm going to set up another track, and this time when I set up the input, I'm going to create a stereo recording from my interface. So I go input stereo and there's two inputs on there, so I'll select that. I'm going to arm it for recording. I'm going to put the recording monitor on so that I can hear what I'm doing. And now if I play the piano, you'll see that both tracks are responding to what I'm playing. Now this one is responding to the MIDI output of the keyboard, and this one is actually responding to the sound I'm making. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable the metronome. I don't want it to run during playback, but this is just so that I can play something in time for you. Let's do a quick little recording to see how it works. Okay, so that's set up. So all I need to do now, everything's armed for recording, both tracks. So when I start recording, both tracks will record and you'll see what happens. Now what I'm going to do here is I am just going to split this track here and remove this last bit, and I'm going to just trim this one down. Now then, let's go back to the beginning and hear what it sounds like. Okay, because I've got this track on for recording, you're not seeing any feedback here, although it is playing it back, but let's undo that and then just start again. So you see, both these tracks are playing at once, but what you can actually hear is the recording of the piano and the piano sound. So that sounds a bit confusing at the moment. You can see though, if you look at both these tracks, and let's just make them a little bit bigger, they look different because this one is a WAV file that is actually the audio recording, whereas this is a set of MIDI events. Okay, so we've got something that looks quite different. Now, if we just take that off and just solo this track, the only thing I'm listening, no, don't want to do that. Oh, it's because I've selected both tracks. Okay, so let's just solo this track. You can see I'm just playing back the MIDI. Let's solo this track. And I'm just playing back the audio. But you're saying, well, what's the difference? Well, let's start playing a little bit with the MIDI data on this track. So if I decide to look at the source properties for this track, I can actually change the tempo of it. So instead of using the general project setting, which was I set at 100 beats per minute, I'm going to make it much faster. So I'm going to make it 200 beats per minute. Okay, and you see immediately what it's done is it's doubled the length of, it's doubled the amount of events, and it's going to play them twice as quickly. And this is something you can do very easily with MIDI. So let's play that back now. Oh, yes, let's turn the solo off that. Let's play them both back. Okay, started to sound different because this is playing at twice the pace now. Let's do something else with it. Let's go and have a look at the MIDI events here in the MIDI editor, and let's transpose them. So if I press the letter T, I can transpose. Let's transpose them up 7 semitones like that. So you saw all the events just hopped up. Now let's hear what that sounds like. So you see I've got something that's sounding quite different now. I could amuse myself further and put a different voicing on this MIDI track. So let's add a different voice. So here's something I set up earlier. This is a virtual instrument I've got set up in here. Okay, and if I go to a preset that I set up before, let's go for this, try this tubular bell preset. I'll turn the piano sound off. Okay. And let's hear what that sounds like now. Go back to the beginning. So this has just been a quick demo to show you that you can, if you've set it up correctly, record MIDI and audio at the same time. You can do this in any DAW. The way you set it up and the way you create the tracks will be slightly different, but the actual principle will be exactly the same. So hopefully that has answered the question. I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please do like the video. If you've got any questions or comments, don't forget to post them below. And if you want to get more of my tips and tricks on home recording, then please do subscribe to the channel. Well, thanks for watching and see you next time.